Scott just made the point.
Thomas Jefferson, seems to be a lot more secure, not just.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle, and in this week's three-part trifecta, I want to dig deep into something I'm calling the psychology of suck. Why do people consistently make the same bad decisions? Why do federal programs continue to grow long after their mission is over? Why do things that we design to do one thing continuously do something completely different? I think it's a combination of psychology and structure that continues to bring results ranging from the mediocre to the catastrophic. It's the psychology of suck. And to help us get to the bottom of it, let's bring in my friend Steve Green, and filling in for the vacationing Scott Ott, our witty friend Steven Cruiser joins us today. Guys, I just spent the 4th of July at my undisclosed location and spent some time with maybe the smartest man I know, an engineer named Brent Regan. Brent likes to take things apart and see how they work. So when he was deputized as a state senator to cast a critical vote as a proxy for the actual senator who couldn't be there, he found himself a little astonished. Outnumbered by something like 8-1 on a vote to maintain U.S. sovereignty on an issue, he found himself in the grip of a very, very powerful desire to change his vote and just do what everyone else was doing. Now, he didn't, but he was smart enough to see it working on him. He said the only time he'd ever felt a compulsion that strong was when he was in a packed stadium and they were doing the wave, and he decided not to stand up when the wave came by, and he said it was almost irresistible. Now, Mr. Cruiser, when it comes to doing the wave, there may in fact be a biological impulse at work. You know, those early hominids thought, hey guys, why is everybody suddenly jumping up and running off in the same direction? Last time that happened, Louis got eaten by a So with that said, the desire to do what others are doing, psychologists call this social proof, has been shown, Steve, to be a more powerful influence than a person's most deeply seated moral and ethical convictions. It's not easy to stand up and do the right thing, is it?
No, it's becoming increasingly more difficult, too, as people have greater exposure through social media and various other kinds of media. You know, you used to be able to make decisions like that in a somewhat isolated. When you were talking about doing what everybody else did, you were in a village with 16 other people, and you were doing what the 16 other people. Now you're sitting there online, and you're doing what 10,000 other people are doing that day. If you're in a big political hashtag game, it might be 1 million people that day online. So the audience is bigger, the exposure is bigger, which means, given the psychology, the pressure is actually bigger because people feel as exposed online now as they do in real life. So they're, you know, it's the same as it's not the same as when you're in a stadium. You're not quite getting the euphoria, but it is pretty much the same still, and it's a much more pressure-filled audience because of the sheer numbers.
And there's a record now, right, Steve Cruiser? I mean, there's a record. Your post has a lifespan. It never goes away. You make a video, you make a comment online, somebody does a screen grab of your tweet, you don't get to take it back, right? I mean, you are shown to be standing against the herd in a way that wasn't true before.
These will last longer than any disease known to man. This is the social media STD. It's going to go on forever and ever. Yeah, you can't get rid of it. And so you're going to be held accountable when you're 35 for things you said when you were a stupid 20-year-old, which is why I thank God every day that social media didn't exist when I was 20.
Me too. Now, Steve Green, as an example of how this works, a report just came out a few days ago saying that the trillion-dollar F-35 fighter, that's trillion with a T, was consistently handed its butt in a dogfight with the F-16, which was designed in the 1970s. Everyone knows that the F-35 is a dog, and no one has the courage to stand up and say it's time to pull the plug, even though the entire defense posture of the United States and our allies are pinned to this turkey. We're pot committed, Steve, right? Once you've got all of your money on the table in the bet, you got to ride that hand out. You don't have any choice. How do we break this kind of nonsense when we see things going south all around us?
Well, you know what? I'm going to have to stand up for the F-35 a little bit. A couple of days after that report came out, the Pentagon released its own report because it wasn't complete. The initial report, yes, the F-35 got its butt handed to it by the F-16, but Pentagon officials, I've got the report here, said that the particular F-35 the test pilot flew did not have its radar-absorbing material on the outside of the plane, which is what helps it become invisible to radar. It didn't have that. It was also lacking the very special radar the F-35 has that allows it to detect enemy planes from a very long way away, much further than the F-16 can by itself. And it also did not have the weapons or software installed that allow it to attack from long range. So imagine if you have a fencer with a rapier and you have a sniper in a ghillie suit. Well, the F-35 would be the sniper in the ghillie suit, hidden and able to hit you from a mile away. But you take that guy out of his ghillie suit and you give him a rapier that he has no idea how to use, and you stick him up right next to the other fencer, and it's really an unfair comparison. So the F-35 was trying to do something it wasn't designed to do. The F-16 was doing exactly what it was designed to do, and it's still a damn good plane. So different planes, different missions. That said, we do get into these cycles. I'll give you the example of health insurance. Health insurance is supposed to cover you for when something really, really bad happens, just like your homeowner's insurance does, so you don't go broke. It's not supposed to pay for all the little things. But we had wage controls during World War II, so employers would entice employees with health benefits that weren't taxed. Well, here we are, 70, 80 years later, and we still have this system in place where you can either have a $1 raise from your employer that is taxed, or you can get $1 extra health insurance that isn't taxed. And instead of breaking this cycle, we forced Obamacare on top of it that codified it, that made it law, that everybody has to buy too much insurance, whether they want it or not. And how do you break this cycle? I don't know, because it's supposed to be broken by winning elections and putting in people with different and better ideas. Well, we do that, and still nothing changes. So, Bill, I'm asking you, point us a way out of this cycle of suck.
Well, we're going to talk about that in part 3. Our members only part 3. We're going to talk about some solutions for this.
Oh, good.
Because, folks, look, when it comes to the psychology of suck, social proof is unspeakably powerful. I've heard psychologists say that if a person drops from a heart attack in Central Park in the middle of New York, that person's life is likely going to be determined by what the first person behind him does. If the person who's right behind the guy that goes down looks down at that body on the ground and then just walks past, that'll tell other people that it's okay to do that too. If, on the other hand, he stops to offer help, then that's what's going to be expected from the next person and from all the people around. It takes enormous moral courage to do what my friend Brent Regan did, and even more to do what this man did. His name was August Landmesser. You can see him right there in the circle. It was a launching party for a Nazi ship. The entire shipyard turned out. They all gave the Nazi salute. Turns out August was not such a fan of the Nazis, and he decided not to. He was later killed in action in World War II. Now, not every German was a Nazi, obviously, but virtually all of them were complicit in one way or another with the horrors that the National Socialists inflicted. August Landmesser, however, was not complicit, and here's your evidence. You know, we used to be a nation of August Landmessers in this country. By understanding the psychology of suck and the power of social proof, we can become one again. Now, in part 2, we're going to look at how systems find static suck. And in our members-only part 3, we'll talk about solutions. For PJTV, I'm Bill Whittle.